Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Cleve Gaddis coming to you today from Atlanta, Georgia. I am a team leader of a small or a medium-sized real estate sales team here in North Atlanta. I'm also a coach and a speaker for Workman Success Systems, and I am delighted to be moderating today's webinar. We've got some fantastic guests, and I'll get to them in just a minute. But first, I want to thank our sponsor. Our sponsor is MoveEasy, and I'll introduce the representative from MoveEasy in just a few minutes. But I want to mention as we get started how much I enjoy these webinars. I wind up moderating maybe one every 2 or 3 months. And honestly, I wind up attending almost all of the webinars that take place when I'm not moderating because I always enjoy the topics. Number one, the panelists are not paid to be here. They're here talking about their businesses and giving secrets and success tips that are just designed to be good for the attendees to help you grow a little bit better business. And there's always good tidbits that I come away from these webinars with, things that I can take and put to use in my business. Today's panelists, and there are 3 of them, are really going to talk about adding revenue to your business by serving your agents and your community more. So the concepts they're going to discuss are very simple, but I think, in my opinion, that is the future of the brokerage industry. You know, those brokers who learn how to ratchet up the level of service they give to their agents, especially those that are in a full fee model. I think that's what they're going to have to do in order to be able to make, to make the business work long term. Certainly, brokers can choose just to have a discounted price model, but I don't know that that's the future either. So today is all about ratcheting up the service. I'm not sure who we've got. We've got a open phone line that's got a lot of noise in the background, so I'm not sure if that's one of the panelists. But if you guys could just try to watch that, if you don't mind, it's a little bit disruptive to me, and I'm sure the audience members as well. You probably didn't even know it, so I apologize for pointing it out. So a couple of housekeeping things. If you want to ask questions, you all have a questions tab on your GoToMeeting panel. And if you want to ask a question, if you have a technical issue, you can post your question there or your concern there. And then somebody on RISMedia staff will help you resolve that technical issue. If you have a question you'd like to ask a panelist during today's webinar, post it there as well. I'll be monitoring those questions myself as closely as possible, and I will do everything I can to try to ask the question. If I don't get to it while we're on the subject, don't worry about it. I will see the question, and I will go back to it. Make sure you stay on till the very end. Workman Success Systems has got a few tools that are designed to help you move forward with some of the specific suggestions that our panelists will make today. So stay tuned until the very end, and you'll be able to get information to download those tools for free. I want to start out by thanking our sponsor, MoveEasy. We've got Venkatesh Ganapathy, and I'm sorry, I knew I was going to butcher that. I hope I did your last name justice, Venkatesh. I apologize if I messed it up. But we appreciate you being a panelist on today's call, and more importantly, we appreciate you and your company sponsoring today's call to make this content available to everybody throughout the country. Welcome, Venkatesh.
Thanks a lot, Cleve. No, you did not butcher my name. You said it perfectly. Thanks a lot, and I'm super excited to be here. And then listening to some of the suggestions that come out.
Well, you and I had a conversation a couple of weeks ago. I'll be honest with you, I had heard of MoveEasy, but I didn't really understand exactly what you did. So I know this is not a commercial for your product, but since you're nice enough to sponsor this, I'd like you to go through and just tell everybody real quickly, give them the Cliff Notes version of what MoveEasy is and sort of what you do for consumers in today's market.
Absolutely. So what we are a post-transaction concierge service, which is a combination of both an online automated concierge platform as well as a human concierge. The idea is helping out the clients everything post-transaction, not only up to closing, but well beyond that. So the heart of the system is the moving concierge platform, which helps consumers, clients find the right moving companies, helping with their utilities, setting up their internet, cable, TV, self-storage, car shipping, you name it, anything and everything during that moving process. We basically take that burden off of the client and, quite honestly, the real estate agent's hands. And then on top of that, brokers can essentially add their own company-owned services like mortgage or title, as well as any of their preferred cleaners, painters, attorneys, any of their preferred vendors, so that from a client's perspective, it's a seamless experience. They don't have to worry about jumping from one system to another. We've been doing this now for more than 4 years across the relocation space, but specifically for a couple of years in the real estate industry now.
And so basically, it seems to me like it's one service that can do all of the things that are very time consuming for sellers and for buyers as they move. And now, is this something that can be white labeled or private labeled? So if we did it from my office, it might show up like it was my service and my site?
That is correct. So it is actually completely white labeled for brokerages and agents. So every agent within a brokerage gets their own site with their information. So when their client goes to their platform, it's as if that real estate agent is actually helping them out with the entire service. And it's completely free for brokers, agents, and clients.
Now, I'm going to go back one slide. So, and maybe this is premature to even mention this, but the subject of today's webinar is creative, effective ideas to propel revenue. And certainly we've got RESPA laws that we need to all deal with as brokers, and we need to disclose relationships we have with people. But I would assume that if I wanted to have some of my preferred vendors on your platform, that might be appropriate for me to have a separate marketing agreement with them in order to do that. Again, provided I disclose everything correctly and follow RESPA laws. Is that possible with your platform?
That is absolutely possible, and that is part of the system where part of the reason why we designed this more as a comprehensive tool as opposed to a fractured experience. So yes, agents and brokers can add all of their preferred vendors, and the advantage here is that you're adding multiple vendors, you're giving all the information, you're giving the disclosure. So on one hand, the client knows and is able to read the disclosures, but at the same time, they're also seeing multiple options for every service, which allows them to then make an informed decision. So no one's pushing one company over another. It's more in terms of, hey, here is the research that we have done as local experts. We've gone ahead and over the years, we've seen that, hey, Joe Cleaner does an excellent job, and I would love for us to recommend him as an option. At the end of the day, the client chooses, but then at least the tool gives them the ability to provide all of those vendors, service providers in one place.
Well, again, thank you very much for sponsoring today's webinar. I'll probably loop you back in on some questions, so make sure you keep your mic hot and active. But without further ado, let's turn it over to Rett Harmon, who is our first panelist. He is actually from Carrollton, Georgia, not too far from where I am. We're probably 30 to 45 miles apart, I guess. And Rett is the broker owner, one of the broker owners of Century 21 Novus in Carrollton, Georgia. He's an author, a community advocate, and a contributor to the real estate industry. And I've known him for quite some time. I did not know him in the capacity of we were working on a webinar together, but I met him at events. And I can tell you I've had some very, very interesting conversations with him about his thoughts on the real estate industry, and I've learned a good bit from him. His company currently has 40 agents, 12 staff, and they manage, from a property management standpoint, over 700 properties. So welcome, Rett. Thanks for participating and being on today's call.
Thanks, Cleve. I appreciate you guys having me.
Now, I have to bring this up in the first place. I don't know too many people who graduated from college with a degree in real estate who were actually in real estate. And I think that you actually graduated from West Georgia, University of West Georgia, with a degree in real estate. What made you decide you wanted to get a degree in real estate?
Well, it's kind of funny. I have this conversation, quite often with people, but it really had a lot to do with the money. And I say that jokingly because it was kind of a snare. They don't do this anymore, I guess. But when I was, a sophomore or so in West Georgia, I knew I was going to do something in business. I didn't know if it was going to be in management or marketing or whatever it was. And they had this little form when you go to get advised. It was called the Green Sheet, and it had all the different, degrees you could earn in the College of Business and approximately what the salary or earning could be in that degree or field, like if it was finance or if it's marketing or management. And real estate always intrigued me because it was almost twice what every other field was. I think that's interesting right there. I want to know more about it. And it just kind of goes with it. And there's so many different fields that you can go into. And it was a neat experience getting started that way. I actually was able to get licensed as a junior in college and, started selling real estate right away. And it was a very good experience for me. It didn't really, I guess a lot of people notice for Georgia, in Georgia, for instance, a college credit is considered 40 hours. So if you had, 80 hours of college courses, which is basically 75 hours is the pre-license course requirement. You're eligible to submit your, certified resume or certified transcripts to the real estate commission and go sit for the state exam, which I failed miserably the first couple of times because I wasn't prepared for it, with income property appraisal and intro to investment analysis. So had to do a little more studying with some Barney Fletcher stuff, and got it going right away.
Well, I love that, and you definitely came in the front door with your education. I just don't see that very often. One of the things we talked about when you and I were discussing this webinar was the concept of community videos and what you're doing in your brokerage. So talk to us about how it got started, what you're doing, and how it's helping your business, if you will.
Sure. And I'm sorry, I'm here in my office, that agent knocking on my door. So I'm on a live webinar right now. So you mentioned about the videos that we're doing from the community standpoint. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. I know you started with a pay it forward type attitude and featuring local organizations. Tell us what you've got going on and how it's working for you.
Absolutely. So when we opened our brokerage about 4.5 years ago, we wanted to be kind of known as a little bit different. We wanted to be known as someone that's working or a company that's working towards becoming a community expert. So we kind of approached a lot differently. I knew that video was a big thing up and coming, something that I really want to incorporate in our business. And I also know that I failed miserably at trying to incorporate video on a consistent basis for the 3-4 years prior to that. So around 2014, we partnered with a local company that specialized in doing video work. And we started highlighting community events that are going on, local business, and why is it great to live here and live here and work here in West Georgia, and what all that means. And we just did a pay it forward approach, highlighting local business, and not expecting from it. It wasn't a hey, come talk to us about buying or selling real estate. We soft branded it. I kind of introed the company, and we did about a 45 second to maybe a minute and a half commercial about their business or whatever their cause was. And it's taken off well. So kind of pay it forward. They shared it on their page. It was, turned around and shared and liked by their family. And then it just kind of grew from there. We put money behind it to advertise it on social media, and really were able to kind of grow a name for ourselves as an old brand that had been in our community for a long time. We're Century 21. We'd had a Century 21 here for about 30 years. It had kind of gone independent for a couple of years. So we wanted to bring that back. We didn't want to be considered the same company that had been there before. We want to be differentiated and different. It's really worked out well for us.
I love that. So now you talk to us about what were the arrangements you made with the videographer? How did that work? You've done like 600 videos, and I know you incorporate hashtags into your videos. How are you doing that, and how is it helping you? And I imagine some people who are listening are thinking, wait a minute, I was hoping that I could get an idea for, hey, I use this service and I generate more leads, and here's how it works. But the reality is that you're doing something that differentiates your brokerage from all the other brokerages and teams in the area, and I think it's something that's making a big difference. So talk a little bit to that subject.
Absolutely. And so, we obviously partner with a company. Everyone has the technology they need right there in their pocket, and it's getting easier and easier each day with just using your phone. And believe it or not, a lot of times the live videos do sometimes perform a little bit better than some of the professional videos. But having someone that was that was their craft, that's what they did. And I kind of approached a company that was new in business at the time that we were. And he prefers the term content creator, but his guy's name's James Paul, Schiller Productions. He's kind of a really solid friend of mine, but we just go around and just kind of interview people and work with it. It helped me for a couple of different reasons, because the thing I mentioned earlier on, I started doing video, 5 or 6 years before that, probably from like 8, 9, 10, somewhere on there. And I couldn't do it on a consistent basis because I'm kind of a perfectionist when it comes to trying to get things done the way that I see the potential of them. And trying to take the time to edit video is a miserable experience for me. I'm not good at it. It's not what I enjoy doing. It's too tedious. So that was my holdup. That was my crutch. Realize, all right, it's, a lot of people have problems getting in front of the camera. That doesn't bother me, but having the consistency of getting the videos produced and then putting them out there, and we came up with a good little arrangement there. And we came up with a deal where I basically hire him 1 full day a month, and we get as much content as we can on that. And then he put out at least 1 to 3 videos per week, and I've done that consistently for the last 4.5 years.
And how do you decide who to feature, what business? And hang on just one second before we do that. Tracy Berger has asked for information on MoveEasy. If somebody from RISMedia will send that information to Tracy, that would be great. And then Chris has asked if the videos are captioned, and I don't believe they are captioned, but I'll let somebody from RISMedia go back and answer that question. Sorry, Rett, to have interrupted. I wanted to get those questions out. But how do you choose the businesses? And so if you've got the ability to shoot 2 in a day, how are you choosing who to shoot? And how are you making it where it's something meaningful for that business so they will share it? Because I imagine it's not
Sure. So I'll give a shameless little plug. I did co-write a book called Winning Real Estate: 9 Secrets to Success from Leading Pros. It's a $10 book. You can buy it on Amazon, but I kind of go over in more detail the process. But basically what we did is we took the time and try to go after businesses that I'm already using. So past clients that owned a business, or maybe it's just a dry cleaner that I really like the fact that they put a drive-through in, and we never had a drive-through dry cleaner here in town. So stop and talk to them, and the owner a lot of times is like, well, let the person that stands up front do the video. I was like, no, to make this work, everyone knows you're the owner. We need to have the owner on here, or if it's like the main manager. And it's like, look, I'm not professional. I'm not a professional movie star or anything. I'm going to stand up, introduce you. You just tell me why you do what you do and why you're good at it, and where you're located, and make it very short and sweet. And what happens that is like, no one does videos about the dry cleaner. No one does videos about the dentist or whatever it is, but we're connectors in our industry. So when we sell someone a home, they're going to come back to us later on, just like with the MoveEasy scenario. Who do you use for this? Who do you use for that? And it's so easy to look at the people that we already had in our database. And then once we kind of exhausted a lot of that, then we start reaching out a little bit further to, other agents within our company, make a recommendation of someone. Really, the biggest criteria was, do they have a good reputation? Do they do a good job? And have we used their services? And if we can't answer, those, then we have to, just wait until we can get a better understanding. We don't want to promote someone or in a way endorse someone or something if we don't at least know what their character's about or what they really do as a company.
Now, do you have a goal for the length of these videos? And I know some people have got to be listening, are like overwhelmed, thinking, oh my gosh, I can't imagine going and doing these community videos. But I bet, number one, you're not spending as much time, as much money as they might think you're spending. And then the videos are probably shorter than they anticipate. So it's not like you're shooting a full-length movie. How long are the videos on average?
Okay, so we try to shoot for, 30 seconds to a minute and a half, I guess, is kind of the target. But I've had some of my best ones have been 2 or 3 minutes long. And when we do a video shoot, I try to line up about 4 to 6 businesses in a day. So we shoot a whole day of video, and I try to get at least 1 or 2 videos with each business if we can. Sometimes I think about some of them as being more of an evergreen video that it maybe just talks about what they do and where they're located, and maybe their website, which those things typically don't change. Or it could be more in this more of if they had a call to action, like they have a special cause that they believe in, that they're doing a fundraiser for, and that event is coming up in the next few weeks. We'll do a call to action video for them that we can kind of put out there. But the long-term, long play videos kind of rest out there, and then they're soft branded by our company. Obviously, we're putting them out on our sites and our different channels. And that way, when people want to come and look about certain things in the area, even if they're not even considering moving here yet, they're just curious about what we have to offer. They're being reminded constantly about our real estate brokerage and then what we do. And then, I was really questioning this for a long time. The first 2 years of it, well, what's your return on investment? What's your return on investment? I said, well, this is a long play. This is a marathon play. And it really takes a lot of time to really put all that together. But over time, it's really taken a company that pretty much was created as a startup, 4.5 years ago, to being, one of the top companies in our area.
So two quick questions. First of all, how much are you spending on a monthly basis, if you don't mind sharing kind of your budget? And then number two, what are you doing with the videos to make sure that they're getting out to the community, probably doing some targeting, boosting on Facebook, things like that? And then I've got a couple quick questions maybe you can answer all together. Sorry to dump all of this on to you, but Gene wants to know, what do you mean by soft branding? And I assume you mean I'm letting them know about my brand without trying to sell them to use my brand. Basically, I'll let you confirm that. And then Mary, sorry, one more question, wants to know if you can give her the name of the book again that you mentioned earlier.
Sure. If you just go to the website, winningrealestatebook.com, it takes you straight to an Amazon link. It's like a $10 book, and all the money goes to a charity to help out, agents that are in need or people that are in need within whatever's going on. So it's something that was done through the brand that I work for, Century 21, but there's no profit or associated with that at all part of a charity. So winningrealestatebook.com. Going back on what I pay for the service, I really, that's kind of a confidential agreement that I do have with my contact. Obviously, he's in the whole Atlanta market, but I will say this: he can get anywhere from a few $100s to $5,000 or $6,000 per video if he's out there hiring out, depending on what someone needed. Now, what I recommend someone doing is either do it themselves on their phone, go to Fiverr, get it edited, or find someone that's kind of new up and coming. I let my video guy co-brand all of our stuff, so his brand's on everything with it. He's able to use us as a case study for obtaining new clients. So he was coming out of being the guy. He's in the film industry in New York, New Jersey. Moved to the Atlanta market, was a professor and taught at the university. I can't remember, mass communications, I guess what he taught, and was getting out of teaching and then wanted to start his own company. So it kind of worked out. He was starting his company same time we're starting our brokerage. I do pay him very well for what he does, but it's we kind of look at it as I pay them one amount per month. He's doing one full day of shooting, and then he does the editing whenever he has in between other jobs. So by doing that, and then he actually has access to post on our Facebook, and then actually started backfilling YouTube and other channels. He puts that out there for us, and then I take a certain ad spend. I will say this: we spend between $500 and $1,000 a month on ad boosting. I guess you say boosting, or through the ads manager of Facebook. And I tell people, be careful about putting too much on a video right away or a post. Going and throwing $100 on a post is like someone going and spending $1 million in a house in a neighborhood. You could buy a house for $100,000. There's no real reason to do that until you really test it. So I've been advertising on Facebook since 2007, and I tell people start with $5 and $10 spend, see what that does, and then go from there.
And are you targeting people just by zip code, by distance from the office? How are you targeting them on Facebook?
I have about 40 different targeted groups, and algorithms with Facebook change about they're changing all the time. I was in a seminar earlier today that was talking about there's 150,000 algorithms that Facebook has, or some crazy number. It may not be accurate, but every 30 days, like 30% of them have changed again. So every day they're changing a little bit. So a lot of it's geographic, like how far around the market that we want to work as an office. That's probably one of the biggest ones, but also really trying to put it into who may be of the proper age to be able to buy a home. Like if we're trying to market to, people under the age of 18, well, they can't buy a home yet because it's not legal in our state until they're 18. So we kind of put that prime home buying or home selling age. But sometimes we'll do things associated with schools, and we'll feature certain things going on with a high school principal or middle school or whatever it is. So then we will actually open the age range up even further. It's kind of an art to that. And, there's a lot of things that have changed over the years with how to properly target or find special interests that are out there. But that could be a whole nother hour-long conversation, that alone.
Okay, but you are trying to figure out how to target people that would be a benefit to your business long term, and I think that's, if people start with that concept, I think they're headed in the right direction. I know you've said that this helps your agents from a conversion standpoint. So if they meet with 3 or 4 potential buyers, they convert more than they otherwise would. But talk about how you think doing this community videos helps with your conversions.
Well, it helps with the recruiting for us, and also helps with conversion. So when I say, and let me go back and answer that other question too about soft branding. Videos are all very similar. Hey, this is Rett Harmon with Century 21 Novus. I'm standing here today with a local business owner that owns this company. Please check him out. So I'm introducing myself as who I am, almost like an interviewer does. And at the very bottom corner of the video as it's playing, I have a very tiny logo at the very bottom corner. But we're going to tag the person in their business, and they're going to share it back out and put it everywhere that it goes. It never has a call to action about anything to do with real estate. Call us to buy or sell property, anything like that. This whole video series, we call it bringing you the community the Novus way. Bringing the community you the Novus way. I said that backwards, I guess, but been kind of a long day of talks. But Novus is the name of our brokerage, so we use the hashtag the Novus way, and that's the other way we kind of soft brand what we're doing. But the way that agents are able to when they're meeting with other people is a lot of times it's an icebreaker in conversation. Oh yeah, you work for Century 21. I loved your video about the horse charity that you guys supported, or I love the video about my uncle's whatever business. It really, what the idea of that is just it's able to connect a familiar company with something hyper local in a positive format. And at the end of the day, we're always promoting positive and elevate, don't escalate.
Love it. And there's a whole group out there that says branding is not really that important in today's world, but I don't know that I agree with that. I think anything you can do that sort of helps open the door and makes people feel a little more comfortable with your company or your agents is probably money well spent. Let's change subjects for just a little bit. Gene, I hope that gave you all the information you needed about soft branding. If you need some more specifics, just post another question. You're in the property management business. Turns out that all three of our panelists today are all in the property management business in one shape, form, or fashion. And so talk about that and how it helps, smooth out your revenue, how it is very profitable revenue to come into the business. This is certainly not a webinar about how to get into property management business, but in some cases in real estate, we have to start over every Monday like we're starting new. And every first of the year, January 1st, we start over from scratch. In the property management business, you don't do that because, if you have 700 properties, you might have 695 at the beginning of the next month or 705, but you don't have zero.
Right. It's like we've all heard the adage, in real estate, you wake up unemployed every single day. You've got to go out and find a client for another closing. With property management, you've got a contract with a seller, you've got a contract with a property owner, I guess, contract with the owner, contract with the tenant, and you're managing the whole process, and it kind of perpetuates all the way around. So you're involved much more heavily, especially when that property owner decides they may want to either purchase more or sell. You have a relationship. You're talking to them so much more often by default because you have to in what you're doing. So we got into it kind of by accident. With the economy was changing, and we just kind of grew it from scratch, helping the frustrated homeowner and the investor that was kind of newfound. So that's how we got into it, and it really is a great residual income that's there. My opinion, if like going back with what we did, we got into it and realized we didn't know what the hell we were doing. Very soon got up to about 100 properties really quick, 2009, and realized I need to get more educated on this. So we took a lot of time, and I probably took, 15 or 20 classes. I went to about a 3-state area. I drove to any class that was available in property management specific and learned all that I could. We joined the NARPM, National Association of Residential Property Managers. It's kind of like the National Association of Realtors for the just real estate industry, but this is just property management specific and mainly for the single family stuff. We're a little bit more diversified. We do some student housing, which kind of falls in a little bit of a hybrid scenario and some small apartments. But at the end of the day, it's a great resource, and it keeps doors open. We were able to use that to start a franchise from scratch with only just myself and my business partner and 2 other agents with the addition of our staff, because we had the cash flow there to move that into what we needed to do.
And I don't want to give any specifics about your business, but we've tried to talk about the margin on the property management dollar compared to the margin on the brokerage dollar. And I don't have specifics, but it was your thought that a property management dollar might have 2.5 times the profit left over for the brokerage that the actual transaction dollar does. So that certainly should get somebody's attention. Venkatesh, I want to bring you back in for just a second. I would assume that your service could be certainly used with people moving into a property as a tenant to help take some of that burden off of a landlord or a property management company as well, right? It doesn't need to be a home buyer and home seller specifically, right?
That is correct. In fact, in the onboarding process itself, when the invitation goes out to the client, one of the first questions that we do ask is, are you going into an owned property or a rental property? And depending on that, some of the checklist items, they change as well, just to kind of guide the customer to the right things to do. But yes, they can.
So it knows if they're a tenant versus a person buying a home. So that's great. Hey, Rhett, talk a little bit about the synergies between the property management business and the brokerage business, and how much business would you say the brokerage gets out of being in the property management business? How many sales do you get from being property managers?
A lot, especially because we came from a model of helping people that were kind of upside down, frustrated homeowners that couldn't sell during the recession, moving on to what they could do, once we managed the property, collected rental for many years, and then the property values kind of came back up. So, I sell real estate as well. So it's a little bit different the way we're set up. We have a managing broker that kind of handles, a lot of the broker stuff, what's going on, but I have a sales team. My business partner has a sales team, but we've probably turned over 250 deals in the last 40 years out of our property management business that have turned into sales, but we've grown our property management company from the size of about 500 to probably close to 700 doors. So we found there's a lot of people that got into the longer term investors that bought 3, 4, or 5 houses that were handling it themselves when everything's a little bit tighter, finally realized, I'm working my tail off for about $4 an hour. I'm ready to just turn that over to a property management company and let them handle it. And that's how we're able to constantly kind of keep that going. It helps with agents too, let them know, look, if you go to a company and now you work with an investor, you have another place to refer your client to that can kind of stay in house. So we can track and tag that person as your client. So if they get ready to sell, the management department staff can easily let you know, hey, this person's ready to sell. You need to help them sell it. So it's kind of like refer in, refer out, and that's worked out very well for us. But you're able to answer, let your agents know, hey, you also run the property management business. You have this whole other resource that all you have to do is just mention it and put it over here, and then you can make a little bit extra out of some aspects of it, and then you can have your eyes on what's going on.
At least a referral fee or something like that.
Yes.
So let's talk. I know one of your other specialties is you get knee deep into all of the different marketing strategies and programs and try to learn as much as you can about what's going on in the market, not necessarily so you can tell your agents what to do, but more specifically so you can tell them what not to do. And so let's talk just a little bit about that, and then we'll move on to our next two panelists.
Sure, absolutely. Well, a lot of that comes down to just taking time and just learning what's out there. I belong to a couple mastermind groups. I do go to a lot of different conferences, and by doing so, I'm able to network with a lot of vendors, network with a lot of people that are very smart in the industry, and really kind of keep an idea what the pulse of the whole economy is doing all the way across the country. So by doing that and being involved in the industry, it really helps me bring that information back to our agents and let them know what's going on. Here's a new vendor to look at. Here's what we have. Here's some new stuff that's come to the table, and really being kind of first to market on a lot of these things that do make sense. But we're not exactly first to market. I can talk to colleagues that have already used it and had success from it, and I can bring that knowledge back, saying, hey, look, we're not just going to invest in this new technology for no reason. Like, this is proven, and I know that it can work, but this is how we have to use it. That's so much more valuable than just kind of throwing darts at the wall and saying, hey, I think this may be a good spend for money, or this may be a good advertising platform. And I tell our agents, before you buy into any marketing or advertising anybody, please come talk to me. I can at least let you know what it does. I can at least put you in contact with somebody that's using it most of the time. That way you'll know what you're buying going into it. Too often we buy the new shiny object in this industry, and it doesn't really even solve a problem that we have. It's just creating more problems.
Yeah, in the real estate industry, we're bad. Are there any new items you've seen, new marketing programs you've seen coming down the pike that you're looking at it going, hey, maybe these are promising? I don't know if you'd be willing to share, but it'd be great if you would.
I'll share one. This is kind of a big takeaway from this past week at the Inman conference, but it was just one of the vendors that was also supporting there, a company called First. They're really cool at being able to take your database, your database from your phone, your email, and it aggregates that data, figures out the property that your contact database owns. It links it up with MLS, and also kind of gives you some predictive analytics about who is going to be coming or thinking about listing within 3 months prior to them actually doing it. I don't know how that works. It's kind of creepy in a way, but I've talked to several people that it's working very well for it. So it's called First, F-I-R-S-T, and you guys check it out.
Perfect.
I mean, I'm not endorsing them. I'm really have my eye on that company and looking forward to getting something going with them.
Perfect. Well, we use some predictive analytics in our business, and we're figuring out, I believe this, Rhett, if you give your agents a list of people and you say these are the 10 people most likely to transact business in the next year, then they focus on those 10 people, and believe it or not, a good percentage of them will sell. So sometimes it's just giving them something extra to focus on, saying here's a good possibility. Let's go on to our next two guests. We've got Valerie Post and Keith Shirley. They're with the Post Shirley Team in Boston, Massachusetts. Keith basically has been an active real estate professional since 1995. He has over 20 years experience in the field and was formerly Deputy Chief of Staff for the Massachusetts Turnpike Authority. That sounds like something that might have been very politically oriented, not from Keith, but certainly from everybody else. And then Valerie has an extensive background in real estate, from co-founding the Meridian Realty Group to investing and managing in numerous properties in the Boston area. So welcome to both of you. Thanks for joining us for the call today.
Thanks, Cleve. We appreciate it.
Well, listen, thank you so much for your time. Hey, so talk to us. One of the things that I thought was so interesting is you divide your training up into almost 3 different avenues. And I think it's fascinating the way you do it. And I'd love for you just to give kind of an overview to all the attendees today to help them understand, what are you doing and how's it different than what everybody else does?
Sure. So we like to look at it in regards to, where's the advisor in their career? And just to keep with the theme in regards to being a concierge service and really providing value add to our clients, which really, I think, drives revenue, completely. The advisors need a lot of training. They need to stay on board on what they do. And it's got to be valuable for the advisor, the agent, to understand that they're in the right track and they're not just being lumped into one just big group training. So we'd like to do the tiered training. One is for new recruits. New recruits, typically we just don't hire some new agent that's 25 years old, but somebody who's got transferable skills that may be moving out of another sales industry and moving into the real estate. So we try to set up with a business plan. Then we have 12-week training program done by our recruiter slash mentor leader, and she goes through and she teaches about the skill sets of negotiation. She'll do the tools and the technology that we've got. She'll jump into the farming aspect of it and identifying a neighborhood or a section of the city or Boston metro area where we should target, looking at different analytics to make sure that the area that they're going into or going to be targeting through their marketing makes sense.
Can I interrupt you right there for a second? And I know you probably don't want to give away all your secrets, but like, what are you looking for from a demographic standpoint, from sort of a turn standpoint? How is she helping them identify this is a good neighborhood to market, if you don't mind sharing?
You look at market share, who the market leaders are there in there. Is it diverse, or there's a one leader there? Is that one leader?
Okay.
Where are they in the stage of their career? Can we start to move in? Are they somebody that maybe gotten a little lazy, taken for granted situations where you can go in and provide a better level of service? We've seen that a lot. Then also in regards to transaction volume and turnover rates.
So are you looking for a specific turnover rate? Meaning, are you looking at it to be 6%, 7%, something like that? Do you have some targets? Do you know?
10 to 12% typically.
Oh, okay, got it. So you're looking for, if you have a dominant agent, you want to know, hey, do they have some sort of an exit plan that we can come in behind them? And then do we have 10 to 12% turnover? So you've got 100 houses, you're looking for either 10, somewhere between 10 and 12 to have sold in the last year.
Right. And
or they'll look for an agent that maybe only sold one house in 3 years, and we think it's it was a lucky sale. That would be, we don't think that's an agent that's going to follow up with that client.
Oh, interesting. So you might start to find their next home right after they close on their current home. You might start to find their next agent to help them sell.
Right.
Right. And our turnover rate's about 4 years up here. So every 4 years somebody's selling their property typically.
Oh, so you got a transient area, people in and out. I love that. Okay,
yeah.
Good. Thank you for sharing that. I'm sorry I interrupted you. Go back to your 12-week program.
No problem. So then we look at the resources too that we provide, independently, and then also what our franchise, Angle and Loafers, provides, and we try to work that into their sales training and into their way of life in regards to what they do. So we think that that's done quite well. And then another aspect we do is that every 2 weeks, my business partner Valerie, his husband, used to run portfolio managers for financial planning. And he used to train that staff. So now he trains our advisors on soft skills, higher level skills in regards to sales. So it's not just in regards to thinking about real estate, but thinking about it in different perspectives, that sales is sales in almost every vertical, and more think about what you need to do as an advisor, as a salesperson, to go out and generate new business, look at certain key activities that you need to take care of.
So can you give us some examples of some of perfect. Thanks. Sorry, Valerie, I didn't mean to talk over you, but maybe some specific examples of some of the things that he's teaching where other agents might not get that same level of training at other companies.
So almost work your network. Go out and work financial advisors. Go out and meet with accountants. Go out and work with lawyers. Go out and work with Chamber of Commerce. Don't work with just individual owners, sellers, buyers, but actually meet with business owners in the area, and not meet with them just on not try to just sell them a property, but what can you do for them? How can you help their business? If they own a carpet business, what can you do to help their business? If you can help their business, they'll help your business.
I like that. And you call your agents advisors, and I assume that's very purposeful to make them look at themselves and their role in the transaction or their relationship with everybody is differently than most agents would. Is that? I assume that's on purpose.
We consider them advisors. They are there to help a client in all aspects of life, whether they need help with finding an accountant, whether they need help with getting into a preschool, whether they need help with finding a college guidance counselor. They're hopefully there to help any portion of somebody's lifestyle.
I love
So
that. It certainly makes
advising them with not just with their real estate needs, but with whatever they may need throughout their, whatever they need. If they need to find out who's going to help with Christmas decorations or holiday decorations, call them. Whether it's an interior designer, they shouldn't need to call anybody except the person who has helped them find their dream home.
Hey, if you're in the right place at the right time and they think about you with all the other little ancillary things going on, they certainly might think about you when it's time to do a real estate transaction. Got a quick question for Rett. Jack wants to know the name of the predictive analytics company. I think you said FIRST, just FIRST. Is that correct, Rett?
That is correct, FIRST. And I was looking to see if I could find the business card from Mike Snyder, the owner of that company. It might be like first.co, I believe, but I can't remember, but FIRST.
Cool. So now, Kevin, I think you're the one who does the office meetings, and you really take these office meetings and you class them up. They're not like a typical office meeting. Tell us what you do on a monthly basis for your monthly sales meetings with all your staff.
Right. So our monthly sales meetings, we hold at the Capitol Grill. So we make it a nice environment. Sit down. We all enjoy a nice lunch. Usually first 10 to 15 minutes, everybody gets to talk and see one another, seeing that not everyone gets to see each other on a frequent basis. So there's some good networking there in our office. Then we'll jump in and typically start off with a TED Talk, because I think it's really important not just to throw numbers in and pound people over in regards to the same old, but making them think in different ways. How do they start their day, or listen to a Simon Sinek and inspiring them to be leaders in their communities and leaders in what they do and inspiring people to action. So we found it very successful. We got great feedback from our advisors on it. So it makes everybody think in a different way. And then after we listen to the TED Talk, we really try to bring it all back into real estate, and really how do you work your day, your week, your month, your year, and then also how do you deal with your clients and really make it client-centric and focused. And it seemed to work out well. It makes everybody think at another level.
Yeah, that's so interesting you say that, because those TED Talks tend to be deeper. They tend to be very, philosophical. And so I'm sure you have some great conversations as a result. What kind of percentage of your agents do you get showing up for a monthly meeting? Because I know in a lot of cases, brokers are very disappointed with the number of salespeople who show up. And say, I'm an independent contractor, I don't have to show up. What percentage of your agents show up at your monthly meetings when you do them in such a classy environment?
I think we get a good 80%.
Right.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Free lunches really help a lot.
Yep.
And the lunch is great. We do it the first Tuesday of every month, so we're really very predictable on it. Everybody plans on it, and it's a fun lunch.
Love it.
We stick to the schedule. It's always done. It's done in 2 hours. It's in and it's out, and everybody looks forward to it. We talk about our successes. We talk about our failures, and I don't think many people walk away without something that they've learned during that time period.
I love it. And just to recap, you have your 12-week training, which can be for new agents, experienced agents. People can kind of put themselves into and out of that process whenever they want. You've kind of got it going on continuously. Then you've got your high-level, high-skill set sales training, and then you've got your monthly sales meetings, a little more philosophical, kind of trying to dig a little bit deeper. So for those of you that want to make sure you have those three things down, and I believe, the way we train and interact with our agents moving forward from a brokerage standpoint is just so important. Now, I know that when you first started your brokerage, you both were doing the recruiting yourself, and you decided that was not the right thing to do, so you hired somebody to help you. Let's talk about that just a little bit. What made you decide to do that, and what exactly are you doing?
Well, I think we told you we were terrible at recruiting. We were very honest about it. We were pretty good at the first meeting, and then the second meeting we just never got around to it.
Right.
So we found a wonderful recruiter, and she committed to it full time, and then we found that she was actually really good as a marketing person also. She was a really good trainer, and it was she took a lot off of our plate where that was concerned, and it was very productive. She knew the marketplace way better than we did. We were an independent before we were with Engel and Volkers, and we really didn't know the marketplace enough. We didn't know what our competition was, and she had come from Keller Williams. She came from Coldwell Banker. She knew what the competition was, and I think that was very helpful for us to understand what other people were doing. We were just fumbling around in the dark prior to that.
And I love that when we were on our introductory call a couple of weeks ago, you just talked about how there's nothing special. I mean, she is special, but it's not like she's the only person in the world that could do this. She just follows up way past when you guys would have followed up. And I think most of us who are in the recruiting world, if we just followed up a little bit better, our lives would change in terms of who we're bringing into the business. I know when you bring people in, Keith and Valerie, that it's important for them to be the right cultural fit for you. And if they don't seem to fit, then you don't want to bring them into your brokerage. Talk about that. What is your right cultural fit, and what you've done to make sure that you're bringing people in who fit the culture and not who would be disruptive to it.
Right. So we've come up with a process with our recruiter in regards to, it's a 2 or 3 step process in regards to the conversation. First, our recruiter will meet with the person. Then there'll be a subsequent meeting with either Valerie and me or both of us together, and then typically a third meeting in regards to, okay, here's what the offer is, and let's see how we can work together on this. So we found it really important. If somebody in our first meeting with the ownership here, Valerie and myself, and a commission is brought up, what's the split going to be? Already we're looking at each other and saying that this is not a right cultural fit. The first thing is, we want to hear, how do you treat your clients? What's the office setting? How's the culture? Is it a team mentality, or is this kind of cutthroat boiler room? We want to hear them asking us questions about the environment, about our office setting, what kind of people work here, the work ethics. We really strongly believe in having full-time advisors and not part-time. We really want to make sure that we're respecting our community and in the industry in regards to knowing that we have really full-time advisors, because you really need to have full-time people. So we want to make sure that that's a key focus in regards to making sure that cultural fit works.
We don't have room for any prima donnas. We don't have private offices even for ourselves. So we need somebody who is very cooperative, who is a team player. They wouldn't work well here. They wouldn't like us. If somebody needs a lot, they're not going to like us, and probably the advisors that work here won't like them. We all get along with one another, and that's an important part of who comes into the office here.
Well, when we were talking on our introductory call a couple weeks ago, I just sort of got the feeling that what you guys were looking for was people you could really partner with, where they understood the value you brought to the table, you understood the value they brought to the table. And in some cases, brokerage models, they're not partnerships. I'm going to, open this bricks and mortar or whatever, and you can hold your license here and you do your own thing, and I'll just give you the environment to do that. And it sounds like you go way, way past that. Let me interrupt with one quick question. Todd posted a question. Fantastic info. Thanks to you panelists. Wants to know if he can get the webinar as a recording. And sometime this afternoon, an email will go out to everybody who is on the webinar with a link to a YouTube video. So you'll have the video and the audio all together, and you certainly can do with it as you choose. Todd, let's go into our next discussion, and that is controlling cost. I understand you don't have any debt, and you're very conservative from a financial standpoint. So talk to us about some of the things you're doing to make sure that your business doesn't fall over because it gets top heavy in expenses.
So I think, once a month we look at our numbers, we look to see where we're spending. We actually have a coaching and accountability program. We work with our corporate office at Engel & Volkers, who's outstanding. So we've got key metrics in place, and we have goals every month and every year to look at that stuff. So we'll see, all right, is something spiraling out of control? So we'll watch the numbers on that at a very granular level. And we're starting to look at much more in depth in regards to our ROI on certain spend rates. Also we believe in awesome, great retail locations. So we have smaller offices, not huge offices, and we've gone technology route of not having just so much huge brick and mortar stuff, but mostly get everything on the cloud. So that's kind of where we've looked at it. And we also don't believe in having a lot of labor force here in regards to hiring a lot of people and staff to do certain things, because it's not necessary. So from a cost savings perspective and being conservative, it does keep the cost down on that.
So I will add, they've just opened an Ingalls and Volker office in my area. It's in a place called Avalon. Rett will know where that is. Most everybody else on the call won't. But I will tell you, it is almost a sort of an Apple-esque type look. When you look at it, you just can't help but want to go in and take a look. And I would assume your offices are the same. You talked about looking at your key numbers. Do you do benchmarking that says, hey, my occupancy expense should be no more than this percentage, my expense for employees and salaries should be this percentage? I don't need exact percentages, because that's certainly proprietary to your business, but what are you benchmarking? How are you controlling, how are you measuring the cost to make sure you're not getting out of whack?
We actually don't do that. I think we're still in a growth mode, and we're still in a position. We're not afraid to spend money to make money. So we're actually not doing that at this point.
Okay. And just didn't know how that works.
The economy's been good, so we've been spending what we need to.
Good. But you're just making sure that you're producing a profit. You've got good cash flow in the business. You're looking at the main things. And it's interesting because a lot of people who own brokerages don't look at their financials on a monthly basis. And I think if we were to give them some good advice, is to look at your financials every single month, especially a cash flow statement, because most people don't do that. Real quickly, let's talk. I know you guys are in the property management business as well. We didn't mean to have two people that were both in the property management business, but it's a very important part of your business. I think it's a separate brokerage. It's like a sister brokerage to your business. But tell us about that. I think, Keith, you're the one who kind of drives that area of the business, if I remember correctly. So talk to that.
Sure. I think we started originally Meridian Realty Group as an independent company about 9 years ago, Valerie and myself, and we wanted to do property management, but we had been doing sales beforehand and found that it was very lucrative. So on the property management, we found that we get a lot of referrals from there. We also get to deal with a lot of contractors. So in a tight economy, and especially up in Boston here, where it's hard for a contractor to come in the city and hard to even to find one to even show up, we found that as a great resource for our advisors to come in, to use them, and to be that concierge service. We've always found, it's very important during the sale, in the buying process or the selling process, but after the sale approach is really where you tend to make more money. You've already got the client, so that's great to keep the client. And doing that, we do the management services. We've got a lot of international clients up here. So what happens is an advisor will sell a piece of property or a home or a condominium, and they're only here a month out of the year. The client using it will take care of everything. We'll pay all the bills, we'll do checkups, we'll ensure all of the maintenance and upkeep is done. So that's helped out quite a bit as a full service company.
But Keith, talk about our model is completely different than Rett's is.
Right.
Our model is more to help our clients that we've sold to. We're not getting anywhere near the referrals that Rett is getting. If he's getting 25% referral, we're lucky if we get 10 referral, but it helps on to sell. I mean, it's a very small margin. It's a completely different model than what Rett's doing.
Right. So we manage mostly condominium associations up here. So we'll manage complexes and buildings. So
interesting. Okay, got it. So you do association management, which certainly should give you at least a little bit of an intro to the actual homeowners in that development. That would be a good conversation for another day.
Right. It definitely does. And I would say one thing is to the other broker owners out there, is you should know your property managers in the community too. I mean, it's important. And we've trained our property managers to understand, the sales process. We mostly make every one of our property managers agents as well, and to take the licensing so they can cross-sell over to promote England Volkers for the sale.
Love it. Love it. Thanks for all the great information. And thanks to all three of our panelists, Rett, Keith, and Valerie, for being willing to share openly. Not a lot of people will do that in the real estate business. If you guys who are listening have any questions, feel free to post them, and I'll try to get them answered before we call it a day. I do have some free gifts, free giveaways that you can get. All you do is go to workmansuccess.com. If you want to write that down, workmansuccess.com/propel. And we've got number one, a copy of today's presentation will be there, so you can download it in PDF format so you can see all the graphics. You can use them. You have my permission to use them however you want to. RISMedia is okay with that as well. We also have a coaching document that we use that teaches you a step-by-step process for establishing your core values. So Rhett's core values are very specific in his community service and whatnot, and Keith and Valerie, their core values are very specific. And so if you don't have core values for your own firm and you want to create those, that document might help. We've also got a daily huddle outline, which is how Workman Success Systems recommends to our private clients how they do their daily huddles, their weekly meetings, things like that. It just gives a little bit of a sample agenda. You might find some tidbits of information on there that would be very helpful to you. And then we have a document that are basically the 10 things you need to know to be on my team. Not that you need to use this, but it might be a great example for you to list, the 8 or 10 things that are non-negotiable with you for your agents who are on with your brokerage, or for your agents who happen to be on your team, or whatever the format is. These are the 10 things you need to agree to, and you need to sort of raise your right hand and swear that you're going to do in order to be part of our team. I think brokerages, in my opinion, in a quarter will get you what a quarter will buy you, but I think that the brokerage of the future who has the most profitability and the larger market share are going to be the ones who are very specific and not afraid to be who they are, so that the people who want to work with them are attracted to them naturally, and the people that don't want to work with them are basically sort of repelled or pushed away. And I think that is sort of where we're going in the future. Look for an email later today or tonight for a recording of the presentation. If you're on, then you should get it because you probably put in your email address when you registered. I want to thank Venkatesh and MoveEasy for sponsoring today's webinar. Much appreciated. It could not happen without you. Valerie, thank you. Keith, thank you. Rett, thank you. And everybody who attended, thank you. I hope you got at least an idea or two from the call that you can use in your business to propel your revenue. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.